Hello, y'all. Welcome to the second episode of 10 Years in Bed. This is a podcast about mental health for the mentally ill by the mentally ill. And today I'm going to be talking about ADHD, task paralysis, body doubling, and me shitting on the floor. And I love the fact that I'm leaving this digital footprint. It's very interesting. First off, I'm going to talk about briefly what happened to me the other night, last night specifically. So I was at the gym training and I got a message from an internet friend of mine. His name is Tony. I talk about him all the time. He does a podcast called Fitness Stuff for Normal People. And throughout this whole YouTube journey, he's been there for me and he's offered me a lot of advice. And last night he messaged me, and keep in mind his podcast and his content is the content that out of all content I consume the most and I get the most value from. So he messaged me last night and he was like, hey, he basically talked to me about the podcast and he was like that I did a really, really good job with it. And I was absolutely on top of the world. I was so happy. And then I got home. So for context, usually before I leave for the gym, I clean up my kitchen before I leave my house so that when I come home, I can just kind of try to chill the fuck out a little bit. And I got home, and every day before I go to the gym, I have the same meal. Not me about to burn my hair off. If you're watching this on Spotify, I record this podcast in my bed and I have a candle next to me and I lean back. I'm currently leaning back and I'm about to burn my hair off. What the fuck was I saying? This is peak ADHD. I literally forgot. So anyway, I got home and I hadn't cleaned my kitchen before I left, and there was a bowl with powdered peanut butter that had dried up, because every single day before I go to the gym, I always have PB Fit powdered peanut butter and rice cakes and then a bagel thin. And I hadn't cleaned it up, and I got home and I saw that and I just went insane. I went, and this is also BPD coming through, but I went from being emotional dysregulation issues with ADHD are such a big problem for me personally. And I went from being so happy, I went from feeling fulfilled, very excited, stoked for the future, to just suicidal and wanting to die. And if you guys have been following me, you know that I have a lot of fitness clothing that I get from Dark Sport, and my closet has just been bursting. I live in a very, very small apartment. And recently, my closet has just been so full, and usually that's where I stockpile extra food items for my kitchen. And when I saw that bowl yesterday, I just freaked the fuck out. I just lost it, and I was like, okay, I want to die. And it's really not that deep, but for me it was. I used a lot of self-talk, and I realized that I was really, really angry, and I find that dysregulation issues for people with ADHD are very common. And I started self-talking, and I was like, okay, you can do this. You need to clean. This has to happen, and it has to happen now. And instead of going to bed like I usually do at 10:30, I decided to reorganize my entire apartment, which meant taking every single thing out of my closet. And within that, a lot of stuff came up, but I don't have the room for the stuff. Luckily, I'm at a space in my life where I have a friend who has a house who has a lot of room. So I contacted her at 11 o'clock at night, and I was just like, girl, can I please store some stuff at your house? So I started organizing my closet, realized I needed to reorganize my kitchen, my bathroom, and everything. So I started this insane task at literally 10:30 at night after I had just trained legs, which, if you've never trained before, training legs is different. When you're done training legs for the day, you're done for the day. You're in a lot of pain. So anyway, I decided at 10:30 at night I needed to redo my whole apartment, which is what I ended up doing. There's this thing with ADHD called task paralysis. So task paralysis basically means, and I'm reading this from ChatGPT, is in the context of ADHD, it refers to the difficulty individuals with ADHD may have in initiating or completing tasks. It's a manifestation of executive dysfunction, which is a common challenge associated with ADHD. People with ADHD find themselves overwhelmed by tasks, even seemingly simple ones, and struggle to start or finish them. So factors that can contribute to task paralysis in ADHD can include difficulties in prioritization, organization, or sustaining focus. So yesterday at 10 o'clock at night, I was trying to figure out the situation with my clothes. And I was going absolutely insane because I was like, okay, I need to sell these clothes. What clothes can I sell? Can I bring them to Plato's Closet? Can I I sat down, and if you have ADHD, the rule is never sit down when you start completing a task, because that's when you just stop and the executive dysfunction really kicks in and it makes it very difficult to get back going. So when it comes to executive dysfunction, and this is quite interesting, I was talking to a friend about it today actually, is that I really needed to go to the bathroom last night, like so badly. And I sat down and I got back up. I actually started getting stuff done, thankfully. But it's funny how people with ADHD, when they're in the middle of performing a task, they'll need to go to the bathroom, but they won't. And it's because we have such issues with impulsivity and difficulty shifting attention. So it can make it very challenging for us to disrupt an ongoing task. So we'll feel the need to finish something, and because of that, we won't address immediate needs. Like, for example, going to the bathroom. Now, I have a very specific story that I wanted to discuss regarding executive dysfunction, task completion, and basically it's a story about how I shit myself in my kitchen. So a few years ago, my partner at the time was downstairs doing laundry, and sometimes I'll do this thing where I'll try to see how fast I can finish a task within a set amount of time, whether it's setting a timer or just like in my head, it's kind of like this little race to the finish line. So my partner was downstairs doing laundry. I was upstairs and my task was to do the dishes. So I'm doing the dishes, and let me just preface this by saying I am gluten-free. And I have been gluten-free for the past year and a half. And at the time, I didn't know I was gluten-free. There also is a huge correlation between people with mental health issues and stomach issues. But I digress. And at the time, I had really bad stomach issues because I did not know that I had a gluten intolerance. And I definitely had irritable bowel syndrome. So I wanted to complete the task of finishing the dishes before my partner finished the laundry and came upstairs. So while that was happening, I really needed to go to the bathroom. And I was like, no, I need to finish this task. I need to stay on task, or like I need them to come upstairs and see that I've finished this task. So I was like, okay, like I'm not going to go to the bathroom. Like I really need to go to the bathroom, but I'm not going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to get the dishes done and then I'll go to the bathroom. At which point I was doing the dishes in my kitchen and I shit myself. I literally had diarrhea and I shit all over the kitchen floor. And that definitely interrupted the task of me trying to get the dishes done on time. This was no surprise to my partner, him knowing me. I ran downstairs and told him immediately. And I was like, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened. He was like, what happened? I was like, I shit myself. I literally shit all over the floor. And he was like, okay. And I was like, isn't that wild? And he was like, am I supposed to be surprised? And I was like, I guess not. And he was like, did you clean it up? And I was like, yeah, obviously I cleaned up my fucking shit on the ground on the kitchen floor. Thanks. So yeah, task paralysis with ADHD can be very fucked up. And once you get started, you really want to complete the task because it's so hard. We get so distracted so fast as people with ADHD. So when you have that energy and you're like, finally, you've figured out how to complete the task that you want to complete, you want to get it done, girl, even if it means you're going to shit all over your kitchen floor. What I wanted to touch on, which I touched on a little bit earlier, was executive dysfunction in people with ADHD. So what that refers to is, and I'm going to read this off ChatGPT. So executive dysfunction in ADHD refers to the difficulties in the cognitive processes that are responsible for planning, initiating, organizing, and completing tasks. Individuals with ADHD may experience challenges in various executive functions, including inhibition, working memory, emotional regulation, task initiation, organization, and flexibility. So it's hard because a lot of times people think that people with ADHD are just being lazy. And if we were lazy, then we wouldn't be sitting in bed all day, stressed out constantly about the tasks that we need to get done. We would be relaxing. But no, it's hard because these difficulties can impact every single aspect of our lives, whether it's academically, whether it's at work, whether it's within personal relationships. And of course, the severity of executive dysfunction obviously can differ between individuals. That being said, it's something that's very common with people with ADHD and with autism. There are a lot of crossovers between ADHD and autism, but one thing I think in relationships that makes it really hard is emotional regulation. So when you have a relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic, with a family member or with a partner, those struggles in managing mood swings can be very, very, very difficult. And I've talked about this before with ADHD and with BPD. I have the tendency to get so angry. Like last night when all of this happened, when I was in a great mood and Tony had messaged me, I was so happy, I was on top of the world. And then I had a quick shift, and there's BPD in that as well, borderline personality disorder. And I just went from 0 to 100, from feeling phenomenal to feeling suicidal. And I was so angry. I contacted my mom and I told her what was going on, and she was like, do you want to call me? And I was like, no, I can't talk to you right now. I am so fucking angry, and I needed to shift that energy and get it out of me. And that's what I did. I literally cleaned my whole fucking apartment and reorganized everything. Okay, so we were just talking about how ADHD can be interesting when it comes to relationships, okay, because of emotional regulation issues. Something that I also wanted to talk about, which is very interesting, is ADHD, the correlation between ADHD crushes and dopamine releases. Okay, so let me paint you a picture. Whenever I'm at the gym, there's usually somebody that I'm attracted to and I'm crushing on. And I'm not even like attracted to them in a way that I want to pursue a romantic relationship with them. It is just this weird, strange attraction that makes no sense, because like if I saw them in the real world, I wouldn't be attracted to them. All right, so there's this guy at my gym that I'm very attracted to, but I'm not actually attracted to him. I'm realizing that it's actually just the ADHD dopamine release that I get from being attracted to this person. So people with ADHD experience an interesting relationship between crushes and dopamine. So let me get into this a little bit. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter, right? And it's associated with pleasure, reward, and motivation. In regards to crushes, the emotional intensity that's associated with crushes and the excitement associated with those romantic feelings can lead to increased dopamine release. So what's interesting is with people with ADHD and a lot of mental health issues, a lot of the time, the way that our body regulates, the way that our brains regulate dopamine is a little bit different by comparison to neurotypical people or people that don't have mental health issues. So the reason why this is interesting is because people with ADHD can have issues with attention, with focus, and motivation, right? So the reason why I love having a gym crush is because it motivates me. It increases my attention and it increases my focus when it comes to my workouts. So I always find that I have the best workouts whenever my gym crush is in the building. It's phenomenal. And obviously everybody with ADHD is different. Like that's just my specific experience. I find that it's very helpful for me to have a gym crush there because I end up focusing and working out very, very hard. Having ADHD is so hard though. Like, it's hard to explain it to people that just don't get it. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to executive dysfunction. One thing that I've found for me personally that's been really, really effective in regards to combating executive dysfunction, specifically with like task management and organization, is body doubling. So what body doubling is it refers to the practice of having another person present while doing tasks. Now, that doesn't actually have to necessarily mean that someone is physically there. For me, I find that I've been most effective when it comes to body doubling is when I'm on FaceTime calls. So I don't know if if anyone else ever does this, but I will literally call people to just be like, listen, I need to get this done. I need to clean my room. I need to do this. I need to do this task. Can you just stay on the phone with me? And they don't even need to be talking to me on the phone. Like, literally, if I'm on FaceTime with someone, it can be completely silent and I will be so effective in getting something done. Like, it's insane. I think another reason is because it can also provide a little bit of structure and it can help minimize distractions. Like, a thing that for me, and I think a lot of people with ADHD can relate to this, is when I decided to start doing this big task of cleaning up my room, I started finding random things. Like, literally, it was going through my sex toys and I found a whip and I was like, oh, now it's time to make a fucking reel for Instagram. And I was just like finding all this stuff. I started cutting a bra up. I was like, maybe I'll make this into something else. Like, I was so off topic. So I thought, I was like, maybe I should go on Instagram Live so I can just like body double with people. So something that I have been doing recently with people on Instagram is I've been going live a lot in the morning when I've needed to body double. It's funny because it's actually been really helpful for other people to get stuff done. Like, I literally will go on live in the morning to cook breakfast. And there have been times where I've been busy and people are like, are you going on live? Like, I need to get stuff done. It's so funny. This has been like a really cool journey so far with just even the first podcast episode. I've had people message me saying that I've motivated them to get up and make their bed, which is a huge thing. And in my first podcast episode, I talked about Marcus, one of my followers, who's been making his bed. And guess what, guys? It has been 3 weeks that Marcus has been making his bed. And it's just really cool. We've gone over a lot of stuff today. We've gone over task paralysis, executive dysfunction, body doubling. But basically what I wanted to say is that, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, if you're suffering with mental health issues, this shit's not fucking easy. Like, it's just not. And you need to extend the same kindness and patience that you give to other people to yourself, because it's fucking hard. Another thing also is that just because you don't have a diagnosis doesn't mean shit. It's really fucking hard to get a diagnosis. So don't invalidate yourself when you're going through struggles. I think that the best thing that people can do if they're struggling is to be able to identify what their problems are, and that'll give you a blueprint of how to solve it. So hopefully you've learned a little bit of something from this episode. And in my case, I think that the biggest thing that for me dealing with executive dysfunction when it comes to getting tasks done is body doubling. So next time you need to get some shit done, call up a friend, FaceTime a friend, and body double and see if it works for you, because it just might. If you got to the end of this podcast, thank you so much. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, if you could just take 2 seconds and give me a 5-star rating if you liked it. If you didn't, then don't give me a 5-star rating. Give me whatever rating you feel like I deserve. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. It is at tismpump. Send me a message. I'm usually relatively responsive. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. I think that is the second episode of 10 Years in Bed. I hope everybody has a lovely night. It is 9:55 girly pop. Oh my god, I trained push for like 3.5 hours and I did an hour on the Stairmaster, so I'm going to go perform a task, which is feeding myself, and honestly that's easier said than done. So big pat on the shoulder for me. I hope that everybody has a lovely night, and yeah, that's it. That is episode 2, y'all, and I will see you next week. Hope everybody has a great day, great night, whenever the fuck you're listening to this. Bye.